ACC basketball doubleheader coming up Saturday, March 1st at noon. First game, Miami at NC State. Second game on the afternoon will be UNC at Virginia Tech. Immediately following at 2:30 p.m., ACC basketball right here on WBBZ-TV. And right here, right now, the tiny tot of the kilowatt Art Wander. Art,
yes.
You're back from Sochi. I imagine you got a little jet lag.
No, it's okay. I did a lot of sleeping. Did a lot of sleeping and did a little reminiscing about the Olympics this time. And I will say this, right at this very moment, I am totally against the National Hockey League playing in the Olympics.
You are?
Absolutely.
Why is that?
You tell me that the fans here in the National Hockey League pay top dollar. You tell me that the New York Islanders without Tavares are going to draw more people because he is the big star. You tell me that the Detroit Red Wings will want to go into the Olympics again after Zetterberg, he gets hurt, and other players got hurt. It isn't worth it. It isn't worth it. These are pros. Let it be all the amateurs in the Olympics.
You know the interest will immediately drop right off if the pros aren't playing in the hockey tournament.
No, why? It didn't drop off.
Because nobody knows who those kids are.
It didn't drop off before they allowed the NHL. What was the greatest event of amateurs playing against amateurs? The United States basketball team against Russia in the final game for the gold. The United States is ahead with 1.5 seconds left to play. The Russians throw the ball all the way down court. The guy tips it up in, and Russia wins it by a point. One of the greatest events and games.
For Russia.
No, for anybody.
The Americans weren't too happy. I believe they protested the game.
I am against it because of the injuries that will take place.
I disagree. I respectfully disagree.
I'll tell you the other thing, okay? I talk to a lot of people like Ray, whom I have lunch with, and Nate, whom I have lunch with, and a lot of people that I talked to were very, very disappointed that the networks did not show many medal ceremonies. And they didn't.
No.
They didn't show the medal ceremony.
I honestly didn't watch them that much at night.
I mean, people like to see these young kids crying when the national anthems are played. Spare me with that.
By the way, I was very impressed with how you were taken in by Vladimir Putin's entourage.
Vlad, my buddy Vlad. Well, he's not my buddy now.
Look at there. You're right. You're standing there,
right there,
right behind everybody else.
I mean, he says, "Come on in front." I said, "No. I'll just stay in the background."
Yeah. Well, you hit it off. You have no problems making friends, do you?
Absolutely not. I am a charming, very pleasant individual, shy, bashful, timid, meek, mild-mannered, self-conscious, a totally introverted person that stays in the background.
Yeah. And there you are in the background there, too. Okay, let's get to present day.
Okay, back to hockey.
Hockey. Ryan Miller.
Hockey.
Should they trade?
No, forget before Miller. Yes, they should trade. But let me say this. This new general manager, Tim Murray, say something. Do something. Instead of going up into Canada and saying something to raise the hopes of the fans who are solidly behind Teddy Nolan, if the performance that Teddy Nolan gave in the Olympics is any indication of his ability to be a great coach, then Tim Murray, get off your butt and give him a multi-year contract.
I agree with that sentiment.
Right.
Ryan Miller, you think they should trade him?
I think so, yes. First of all, he's very heavy against the salary cap. I don't know. I get the inkling that maybe he doesn't want to stay here. And remember, even if they make a deal, he doesn't have to sign it because he'll be an unrestricted free agent. So for that reason alone, don't take the chance, okay? Make the trade, get something in return.
Buffalo Bills. Tim Graham has stirred up a hornet's nest out there at One Bills Drive with his articles about an undisclosed source, an employee within the team. I think there's speculation out there, One Bills Drive, that it's an ex-employee that came forward. I don't know, did you have a chance to read Tim's articles?
I read the articles, and I will tell you this. If true, if Marone and Whaley are part of this, you're letting the information get out, and if that's what they want is to bring their own buddies like Marone has been doing since he was named head coach, then it is absolutely wrong. Because I'll tell you something, okay? experience means a lot. And you take a great guy and a great trainer like Bud Carpenter, he's got the experience. He's lived with all the changes made. So all this type of stuff. And the other thing, don't mess with Jeffrey Littman. You don't mess with Littman.
Well, I thought the front office things that were in the article, they're nothing new. There's been talk for years about Jeff Littman's influence on the team and, being Ralph Wilson's right-hand man. Also, Jim Overdorf does the contracts.
Right.
Whaley does not do the contracts. The position has changed quite a bit from the days of John Butler and Bill Polian.
Yeah, I know, but does that mean that Whaley and Marone want to usurp all the power? That they all want all the power for themselves?
These statements came from somebody who, first of all, doesn't want to be identified, number one. And number two, is there some truth to it? I'm guessing there is some truth to it.
Yeah.
The part about Bud Carpenter I completely disagree with.
I do too, because you know why? After all, it was a case of Whaley was elevated by who? A guy that has lived with the Buffalo Bills for a couple of decades, or less, or slightly less. All right? So consequently, just stay in the background. Do the job that you were hired for. Don't try to play games in the back to get more power for yourself.
You're pointing at Doug Whaley?
Not at Doug Whaley, yeah. And Marone, I have been critical of him for bringing in his buddies from Syracuse, college guys. Get some experience. And that's what Bud Carpenter and the lifers are. They have the experience.
Well, Bud and his staff, they were the training staff of the year in the NFL in 2007. What Bud Carpenter did with Kevin Everett when he broke his neck on the field has become legend. I know Fred Jackson just recently said he loves Bud Carpenter, and Bud was the guy who was able to get him ready to play each and every Sunday this year with all those injuries he had. So I think that was misplaced.
And you must remember, okay, if they talk about the lifers and the old way of doing things, Russ Brandon isn't a newcomer with the Buffalo Bills.
Well, no, I think he was thrown in that hopper. Hey, I want to get off of sports for a minute because I want to talk about, believe it or not, the Beatles.
The Beatles, my buddies.
50 years ago in February, the Beatles came to America for the first time. Ed Sullivan Show. Right. And what part did you play in welcoming the Beatles to America?
I was working at a station in Hartford, Connecticut. My buddy, my very good friend with whom I worked at WMGM in New York in the early 60s, he said, Art, I have a pass for you to be in the Beatles hotel suite when they come in. I said, Rick, I'm there. I drove from Hartford to New York City. Rick gave me the pass, and all of a sudden, we're in the room where Cousin Brucey is doing the broadcast with Dan Ingram, and you see the crowd of people out on the street in front of the Warwick Hotel, and then all of a sudden, we go up into the room, and a big party is going on. Everybody is in there, and we are having such a great time. All of a sudden, Cousin Brucey snaps a picture of everybody, and it says, Art, have a picture with Paul. Paul says to me, sit on my lap. I sat on Paul's lap. He took my glasses off and says, show your face to the camera. And then I called the station in Hartford, Connecticut, and had every one of them on the air, which was a big coup because our competition, WDRC, said, we are the Beatles station. But we snookered them. Then we go to Shea Stadium. And Shea Stadium, we got there about 2 hours beforehand. We're in the dugout, and there was Ronnie of the Ronettes, and many other celebrities were there. Marvin Gaye, Little Anthony of Little Anthony and the Imperials, sitting in the corner in the dugout. Nobody paying attention to him. Nobody was Mick Jagger. But Satisfaction didn't come in at that
right, so nobody knew who he was.
Nobody knew who he was. Then the concert started, so I'm next to the stage, okay? Next to the stage, looking at this mass of people at Shea Stadium, and all of a sudden they start playing, and the place went bananas. I could not hear them sing. They were awesome. And then, of course, a couple of years later, Brian Epstein and I became very good friends, the manager of the Beatles, and that is my association with the Beatles, better than most anybody has, better than you.
Well, absolutely. I was just a tot. I was a tiny tot at that time. Now, Cousin Brucey, who's still on the air on Sirius, and our old buddy Sig Fracassi, who used to work with you at WNSA, works with Cousin Brucey. It's serious. We should contact Cousin Brucey to see if he still has copies of those photos he took in the hotel room.
I already did. He said no. Because what happened when I got back to Hartford, these Bolex movie cameras, I sent one to Rick and I sent one to Cousin Brucey.
Well, someday he'll write a book and we'll know more about it. Artie, thanks so much for being on the show.
What, is time up?
I know, time's up.
Luke Tasker wanted to say something.
Luke Tasker's in studio. We'll have more on that on a later show. Artie, always a pleasure.
Of
Thanks
course.
for being on.
Bye-bye.
We're going to come back. We'll talk about installing a new Reimer furnace right after this.